Before we get started tonight, I want to talk a little bit about listening and how you're listening and the constructed self. Are you listening from the big I, from consciousness, or are you listening from the little I? Because the little I, the constructed self, is a kind of self-referencing, gets into a self-referencing loop where you're listening for what you already believe. You're listening to confirm what you already know or believe you know, and you're listening to confirm your past experience. The way that you evaluate from the constructed self is you listen and then you compare. Does that sound right? Does that sound like something I've heard before or something I know I've already decided is correct? And if it falls into the sounds reasonable, then you keep listening. And if it falls into the not so reasonable, you start to create arguments against it or protect yourself. And that loop of confirmation bias, the ear that's listening with confirmation bias, and I know I've talked about this before, that the ear is not a passive, it's not a passive seashell. Your ear is selecting out. The constructed self is selecting out particular pieces of your experience and constructing your lived experience based on a selection process. The ear is not passive. Your ear is not passive. It's active when the constructed self is engaged. When you're listening from there, the ear is pulling out. However, if you're listening from the big I, from consciousness, if you take some time during our talks and you listen to me from consciousness, from that much more open, expanded place, then you're going to hear something else than what you're going to hear if you're listening from your constructed self. Because the confirmation bias is not going to be at play in the same way as it's at play when you're selecting. And of course, most of the selecting is going on unconsciously. So let's take a few moments before things get rolling just to be here, to become present, and to notice how narrow or collapsed. I've talked a lot about the collapse in this training, about how the more we get into the constructed self and the ego, the more the space collapses, the more the focus collapses, and the more we head towards concepts and ideas versus consciousness. We get caught up in the thoughts versus the actual experience of consciousness. So pay attention. How expanded do you feel? Or, the more, if you have a lot of stress, of course, you start to contract and you collapse into the stress and you collapse into those survival structures that the constructed self is so good at creating and protecting you. But that's not going to help your ears here tonight. It's not going to help for you to really listen to me and really get the message of freedom that I'm wanting to convey to you. And along with that comes, along with this active ear that's selecting, it comes with your intent. What is your intent? If you're new to listening to me, what I'm saying, what's your intent in coming? Is your intent to prove that you're right, or you're smart, or is your intent to prove I'm right and I'm smart? See, the intent, the organizing principle behind this selective ear of the constructed self is going to dictate what it is that comes through, unless you take a few moments to center yourself in your expanded consciousness. Because if you don't do that, what you're going to hear is what you already believe. And when we hear what we already believe and we construct our belief systems on that which we already think we know, then what you're going to hear is the same thing. Your past then is your future, because you're listening for your past. You're not listening for the new and for the revolutionary and for that which you never imagined was possible or could be possible. You're listening for what you already know to confirm the limitations you already have. And of course, listening for what you already believe, confirming what you already think you know, is the surest way to keep yourself from any kind of progress. Now, what you're going to do when you do that is you're going to feel maybe some security in that. You go, yes, that's right. Yes. Oh, yes. I heard that. Vivekananda said that, or I've heard that elsewhere. So yeah, that sounds right, what he's saying. As you vet what you're hearing and compare it to the past and compare it to what's already going on, what's already happening in you, you're going to get what you've always got. You're going to get the same results. And at the same time, I'm not suggesting that you become some kind of idiot and you just believe anything I say. I'm actually not talking about you believing in what I'm saying. What I'm getting at is that what I want you to do is I want you to put yourself in the state of the big I. Remember the training, go into the expanded state of consciousness, listen, take in, and later apply critical thinking. It's not a skill that we don't need. It's not a skill that helps you in the moment because you keep selecting the wrong things. You keep selecting for building the body of knowledge you already have, which is a body of knowledge that limits you, which is going to prevent you from, of course, getting what you need. So let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Critical thinking is a positive and important skill. It's just not an important skill when you're listening, when you're trying to take in a state of consciousness versus some information. I see, I'm not offering you information. If I was offering you information, critical thinking would be, even then, it's still quite limited because, right, we keep comparing to the known and we can't make paradigm shifts and quantum leaps in physics or in technology if we keep looking at what we already know, because what we already know is part of the body of knowledge that's the limitation that we're trying to get across. It's still not even working there, but it's certainly not working here. What I'm offering you is a state of being, and everything I'm saying is pointing towards something that can't be expressed anyway in words correctly. Words are an approximate that really only work in metaphor. So what I'm offering you is a series of metaphors pointing towards something that can't directly be described. And of course, the same thing is happening in science, although scientific models are approximates. And of course, they're also metaphorically rooted in a similar way. But it works a little bit better in the scientific model than it works in this kind of context. So notice, what ear are you listening with? What is your ear selecting? Instead of the ear being actively selecting and grabbing and taking, what I want you to do is just let your ear really be a hollow bamboo, really be the seashell. Just taking in the sounds and reflecting the sounds of the ocean, the sounds of consciousness.